Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video. Today I wanted to go over some mid-level goals that you can work towards when you're just not really sure what to do in old school RuneScape. When I say mid-level, I'm kind of talking between 50 and 70 in skills and maybe 70 to 80 combat. You might be going for things like Barrow's Gloves, Defenders, maybe starting to do some bosses, Zulrah, Barrows, stuff like that, but still haven't quite reached any of the higher tier content. If you're in that category, this video will be for you. And I have made a couple other videos like this, so if you think I'm missing anything off this list, go check out the other two videos, which will be linked in the description. Alright, let's get started. Coming up first here is unlocking the Edgeville Respawn. The Edgeville Respawn doesn't actually have an inherent requirement behind it, except that it actually costs 5 million coins, which as a low level is probably not going to be your priority. As you move further into the game, you have more money. You've gotten some of those early game requirements out of the way. Unlocking the Edgeville Respawn can actually be pretty good, and the reason for that is that the Edgeville Respawn is one of the closest spawn points to a bank, and also happens to be in a naturally useful area. Edgeville is a very prime area because it's right by Varrock, it's right by the wilderness, there's lots of people there, the bank is convenient, and it's only around 20 steps from a bank. If you compare that to Lumbridge, Lumbridge is about 40 steps to a bank. Falador is even worse, it's like 50 steps to a bank. And the Camelot teleport is 40 steps to a bank, making Edgeville by far the closest, and generally the most convenient. This is especially convenient if you're doing Bounty Hunter or PKing in the wilderness because it is right beside Edgeville, which is generally where people are PKing anyway. Next up here is obtaining some weight reducing gear, mainly the Spottier Cape and the Boots of Lightness. Now I did mention the Graceful set in my last video, and that is an ideal set to obtain. However, if you haven't gotten around to grinding out the Marks of Grace for the Graceful set, definitely go ahead and get yourself a Spottier Cape or the Boots of Lightness. They are both pretty easy to obtain and don't have extremely high requirements, and individually they're actually better than their Graceful set counterparts. The only reason that Graceful is overall better is because of the set effect, which the Spottier Cape and the Boots of Lightness don't have. For comparison, the Spottier Cape gives a weight reduction of 4.5 kilos, the Graceful Cape is only 4 kilos, and the Boots of Lightness reduce your weight by 4.5 kilos, and Graceful Boots by only 4 kilograms. And on top of that, the Spottier Cape and the Boots of Lightness are pretty much worthless. They are not worth much in comparison to the Graceful set, as you can easily obtain them again, which makes them extremely useful for things in the wilderness or other high-risk scenarios. For example, if you want to do Abyss runecrafting, bringing a Spottier Cape or the Boots of Lightness are probably preferred over bringing a piece of Graceful. You will need 66 Hunter to wear the Spottier Cape, and the Boots of Lightness will require you to complete the Temple of Ikov quest, but both are pretty low requirements and definitely worth doing. Another really awesome goal to go for is actually just 75 combat, really simple to achieve and really does not take too long after the early game stage. 75 combat will unlock Konar, which is the new Slayer Master, and she is actually pretty good for that exact combat range before you actually unlock Neve. Between 75 and 85 combat, Konar is pretty good and you can earn a solid amount of money from doing her tasks. I'd also recommend having at least 44 Slayer. That way you can do some of the tasks in the new Karum Slayer dungeon, and you'll have a larger pool of Slayer monsters to go through. On top of providing a decent amount of money, she'll also be giving you a lot of Slayer points, which can help you unlock some of those mid-game Slayer unlocks, like the Slayer ring, block slots, and stuff like that. Coming in at number 4 is unlocking new farm patches. I believe since my last video, we may have added in 2 new patches. Doing herb runs is one of the best and easy ways to make passive income in old school RuneScape, so getting more herb patches is ideal. Now there are 4 herb patches that you can unlock, however the last one has a very high requirement, so I just focus on these first 3. The first one's available in the farming guild and that only has a requirement of 65 farming, so that's really not too bad. The second one is by completing My Arm's Big Adventure, and the third one is unlocked by completing Making Friends with My Arm. The sooner that you can unlock more herb patches, the more money you'll be making, and that will stack up very quickly, so it's good to get out of the way as early as possible. Coming up next is getting 60 to 70 agility, and the reason for that is for shortcuts. Around Gielinor there are a ton of useful shortcuts, getting to Zulrah, getting to the Grand Exchange, getting through fences, going up mountains. It is a huge time save that a lot of people take for granted, but in those lower levels you don't actually have many of these shortcuts unlocked, so overall it's better to get a higher agility level first for multiple reasons, but unlocking these shortcuts is one of them. On top of that, having a higher agility level will help you recover your run energy quicker. At level 1, you're only going to get 1% of your run energy back every 7.5 seconds, However, once you're into the 50s or 60s, you're going to get that back every 4 seconds, so it's going to be more than double the effectiveness after a certain period of time. And on top of that, the shortcuts are a major time save anyway, so it's just best to do this early because overall it's going to be more time efficient. Next up here is unlocking enough quests to do a proper Nightmare Zone setup. Now there are a ton of different ways that people do this, but what people mostly prioritize are quests that will unlock monsters that only attack with only one attack style. Generally, you're looking for monsters with low defensive stats, attack with melee, and have a high HP level if possible. So for that reason, completing quests like the Haunted Mine quest, Lost City, Tree Gnome Village, What Lies Below, Vampire Slayer, Fight Arena, The Witch's House, The Grand Tree, Holy Grail, quests like that will help you set up a proper Nightmare Zone strategy, and AFK Nightmare Zone is one of the best ways to train your melee combats in the mid game and even late game. The earlier that you can complete at least 5 of these quests, which will allow you to get higher combat stats quicker, which will generally propel you further into the game at a quicker rate, especially if you're like a student or you work a lot and you just need something extremely AFK to do on your phone or while you're studying. This is a really excellent way to do it. Alright, coming at number 7 is achieving 65 farming, and that is to unlock the Farming Guild. As I mentioned earlier, the Farming Guild does have a new herb patch in it, but on top of that, you'll get access to a ton of other things as well. At 65 farming, you'll have access to the first 2 tiers of the guild, which will allow you to fight the new Hespori boss. Killing the Hespori will allow you to get global boosts for all of your patches. You will unlock a new tree patch, and you can plant even the new white lily seed. Once you get up to 85 farm, you'll have access to even more patches. It's a really good mid-game goal to go for and will extend into the late game as you level up your farming more. Coming in at number 8 is completing the Major Arena 2 mini quest. Now this is probably one of the more difficult items on the list. You will need 75 magic to even begin this. However, it is very difficult as the bosses are all in the wilderness, and you're not allowed to bank the individual items you get, which means you have to do it all in one go, and you do have to bring a risk with you. However, completing this will unlock the Best in Slot Magic Cape, and if you compare that to how difficult it is to unlock the Best in Slot Melee Cape or the Best in Slot Ranged Cape, I think is the easiest one. The Imbued God Cape will give you a plus 15 magic attack bonus and a 2% magic damage bonus, which is huge and by far the best cape for magic. However, do keep in mind that if you do lose this cape, you will have to do the entire process again, so it is not worth bringing into the wilderness or any other high risk scenario where you are likely to die. For that, I would recommend just bringing the regular God Cape, which you can get at level 60. Next up here is unlocking the Salve Amulet, and I think the Salve Amulet is one of the more underrated quest items. Now the Salve Amulet is pretty easy to obtain. The only quest you'll need to have completed is the Haunted Mine quest. However, you won't be using it too much until you're in the mid game or even late game. The Salve Amulet will increase your attack and strength by 15% while attacking undead monsters. However, the Salve Amulet can be upgraded twice after that. If you use the Tarn's Diary on the normal version of the Salve Amulet, it will increase the damage up to 20% against undead monsters. That will give you the Salve Amulet E, and if you enchant it with Nightmare Zone points, you'll get the Salve Amulet EI, which will apply that bonus to magic and ranged as well while you're attacking undead monsters. This is excellent for chinning, doing Slayer. However, keep in mind that this does not stack with the Black Mask, so because of that, it's only really a niche item, but still extremely useful. And last up here is unlocking the Slayer Helmet. Now, the Slayer Helmet was always visualized by myself as an extremely good mid-game goal, and it does have its uses. I would argue the Slayer Ring is more important, but that was on my last list. However, the Black Mask is mainly useful for certain monsters. The Slayer Helmet is made by combining a bunch of different pieces of Slayer equipment. The main requirement here is you need 55 crafting, as well as 400 Slayer reward points. Now, I wouldn't recommend on getting the Slayer Helmet first. I would focus your points on block slots, unlocking things, skipping tasks, and stuff like that first. But if you do have an excess of points, the Slayer Helmet is a nice upgrade. What it will do is it will combine all of the Slayer items into one helmet, and it combines it with the effect of the Black Mask, which is by far the best helmet to wear when you're doing Slayer. This will really help you for tasks like Aberrant Specters, where you were not able to wear the Black Mask previously because you would die, or for Banshees when you had to wear the earmuffs. It'll really help you out then, and is just a major convenience. You can imbue both the Black Mask and the Slayer Helmet with Nightmare Zone points to apply the extra damage to ranged and magic once again. It is a really nice mid-game goal to go for, as it's a really iconic piece of equipment. It looks cool, however not as useful as most people realize. Anyway guys, that is it. Those are 10 mid-level goals for accounts to work towards. If you have anything else you'd like to put in the list that weren't included in the previous 3 videos, definitely leave a comment down below. Anyway, thanks for watching guys, and I will see you next time.